Counter-Strike 2 has been out for more than a week now and is hitting a peak of over 1 million concurrent players every single day. So surely a game this popular has to be pretty good, right? Well, if you spent any time online, you'd be convinced the game is actually a hot pile of garbage. Some think the game is way too easy, while others exclaim it's utterly unplayable. So, is there any validity to these complaints, or do people just need to shut up and play? Before we get into the video, we would like to thank our sponsors for today, our friends at the Shop app. Over to Liz to tell you all about it.
Listen, we all shop online. I just happen to do it while I'm playing Cypher, waiting for enemies to walk into my utility. And my absolute favorite place to browse and spend my hard-earned moolah is using the Shop app. Instead of aimlessly scrolling through sites, praying I come across something cool, I'm able to find the things I love, and I love the things I find. They even have a personalized shopping feed based on my style. They are on top of my favorite brands, their drops, and most importantly, their sales. And as someone who is always running around between work meetings and playing games, the Shop app keeps track of all of my orders all in one place. I can order things easily and quickly with Shop Pay, the app's fast and trusted checkout. Best of all, if you live in the US, you can get 1% Shop Cash every time you check out with Shop Pay. So spend that Shop Cash on all of your favorite participating brands. Hundreds of them run limited time offers so you can make your Shop Cash go further. As a theScore esports fan, you can check out the Shop app at shop.cash/theScore esports, where new users can get $20 Shop Cash. Now go watch the video.
Okay, let me be 100% crystal clear. You are allowed to dislike a game, and if you do, you are free to criticize it to your heart's content. At the same time, when you do make a complaint, it should be warranted and not just manufactured outrage for impressions. Listen, if you spent any time on the internet, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, the nuance of considered criticism is boring, and people just say the most insane shit about any topic just for the attention. And I fear that this issue has seeped its way into the CS2 conversation to the point where talking heads just post these out-of-pocket takes for the sake of clicks. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of grievances you can make towards CS2. But there is a big difference between having issues with the game's audio and making statements like this.
I think this game dies. CS dies with 2. I think it does. I firmly believe that.
I feel like you're being a little negative. Slightly.
Just the truth.
You actually think it?
I think it does.
I
think this is the end of Counter-Strike.
Does Shroud actually have a point here though? No. Absolutely not. There is zero evidence that Counter-Strike will die with CS2. It didn't die when Source literally split the player base, so why the hell would it now? The reality is, I just don't think Shroud enjoys Counter-Strike that much anymore. And he's clearly just trying to get a reaction out of people. And it's obviously working. But to be fair, Shroud isn't the only one out here baiting people. To name just a few, Loba has been on an absolute tirade against CS2 for God knows why since he first got his hands on it. And just yesterday, s1mple, the greatest player in the world, said, quote, "Don't play this shit game right now, wait for updates." Now, while I do agree with s1mple's advice of wait for updates, is CS2 a shit game? No. Of course not. Listen, as a pro player, s1mple and his colleagues that agree with him could be right that this game isn't esport ready. I don't play that level, so I couldn't say. What I can say is that I watched and played CSGO since the very beginning, and it took years for that to become esports ready, but the show went on regardless. Point is, I ask that you take into consideration that A, s1mple probably has higher expectations than most, and B, he has been experiencing a ton of issues that might have nothing to do with CS2, and it probably influenced his frustrated comment. I'm not trying to invalidate his or anyone's negative experiences with the game. Crashes and poor performance is absolutely unacceptable and needs to be addressed. But as a massive figure, telling future pros not to grind the game, that's absolute bait. And it just keeps going. It seems like it's almost impossible to have a nuanced take because everything needs to be extreme. Personally, I think this is a larger issue with social media in general, where on things is easy and gets a lot of interaction. But that's a whole conversation for another day. Now, like I said, there are plenty of valid issues with this game. It was straight up released with a lack of content. The anti-cheat needs to be better, and matchmaking is completely unbalanced, and that's just naming a few issues. After the game launched, Alish posted his biggest issues with CS2, and not only did I agree with all of them, but they were specific and constructive. And guess what? Valve is already fixing that. Be realistic. No CS game in history was perfect at launch, and to this day, they all have their quirks and shortcomings. It's fine to take issue with these things and not like the game's current state without needlessly baiting the community. Everyone just needs to be more like Snappy.
The game is really bad at the moment, but as professional players, it's our jobs to accept it. The game is going to switch, and we just have to adapt. We have to play. We have to have positive eyes on it. I think everyone knows that the game is bad currently, and 64 tick, there's a lot of issues with the game, and they released it prematurely. But with that said, it's our job to accept that and work with it and try our hardest and just accept it with positive arms, despite it being a game at the moment.
Now, it can be as easy as just logging off and sitting down and playing the game yourself. And listen, I do plenty of that, and I look forward to how this game is going to be before the year even ends. But as someone who makes content for a living, this trend is upsetting because I have to see this every day. So just forgive me. I just don't want to see the CS2 community go down this path where it's trendy to shit all over the game, because it helps no one, including the people who are trying to make this game better. Now, keep your valid criticisms. Tell me about the things you don't like in the comments and have these conversations with people online, especially if they're game-breaking issues that Valve needs to be made aware of. Just try not to fall for bait like this, as I did, and maybe it will all go away. And listen, if you straight up do not enjoy the current state of the game right now, take a break. You honestly might need to, because guess what? CS2 is here and it isn't going anywhere. Usually the people that are doing it, that are rage posting like that, have like, you know, ungodly hours in the game. They're the ones playing it the most. You know, just like League of Legends, you said, like every time someone brings up an issue, it's usually because they're addicted to the game and they can point out every little thing that's not perfect, but it's never going to be perfect.